You have to be so lucky to get that, honestly. That's what I thought. Hey! Hi Josh, how are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. How's business?
Business is pretty good. I can't complain. It's been obviously over the holidays, right? Things kind of slowed down a little bit, especially as a lot of firms and people go on holidays. But we seem to be back up and running, so can't complain. How about you?
I believe that I'm so swamped because of my community. I cater Filipino community, and most of them are economic class, and it is really swamped in my office right now. And the only thing is that I don't have anybody. I have few, but they're part-time, but I have to take care of it myself, so it's overwhelming. I'm so in demand with my community because there are tons of incompetent licensees, scammers there. So I don't have any choice. I usually don't like doing all these social media things because I want to be private and I want to be quiet. But unfortunately, I notice that there are tons of people who are so noisy out there, but they're not even competent enough to do the things that they needed to do, which is to help the people who dream to be an immigrant here in Canada. And lately, I just noticed, Josh, that getting that permanent residency is kind of like you have to be you have to be so lucky to get that, honestly.
That's another reason why we have, or one of the main inspirations why I started the show, right, Norlin, is, as you said, there's so much noise out there, so much content, and everyone and their mother is an influencer now. But that doesn't mean the quality's good. This show is specifically to talk, regulated professional with regulated professional, put out helpful content, and,
yes.
Hopefully it helps people maybe avoid some of those bad actors, or it points them towards good actors like yourself, right, who can actually help them. So a couple topics which I'm very interested to dig into. These are good topics. Is in a few minutes I'll hit record. You're going to see a countdown on your screen.
Okay.
So you'll get a warning. Hey everyone, this is Josh, Canadian immigration lawyer and CEO here at Visto.ai for another episode of the Canadian Immigration Pros podcast. I'm very happy to be joined by Norlin Oligo Sarma. Norlin, thank you very much for coming on the show today. We appreciate it.
You're welcome, and thank you for having me.
Yeah, I'm very excited. We got some hot topics up to discuss today, which I'm very excited about. Before we jump in, do you want to just give a quick introduction, tell people a little bit more about who you are and what you work on? Yeah,
I'm an immigration consultant. I began my practice as immigration law specialist on the early 2017 and has since covered all sections of the field, immigration program, with a concentration, of course, with more difficult and complex matters. I have been a member in good standing of the CICC and have been a qualified senior immigration consultant for, I think, more than 6 years now. I have my bachelor degree in accounting. I used to be working as a banker here in Canada. And ever since I've been practicing, after my banking career, I've been practicing as immigration specialist full-time. And I'm located in Richmond Hill, Ontario.
Great. And thank you again for coming on the show. One of the things we were talking about beforehand, and I think maybe one of the reasons why you decided to come on the show was because, as we said, it's been an interesting few years for many reasons, but especially with the popularity of social media and the rise of the immigration influencer, so to speak, right?
Yeah.
So I'd love to kind of hear your thoughts, to kind of jump in on what are you seeing right now out there in the industry, and if you can maybe talk about kind of like what you were telling me before, like why is it so important that regulated professionals are putting out reliable information as compared to what we're seeing a lot of these days?
I've been discussing with you before, since I started my practice, I don't want to be in public as much as possible. I don't want to be, it's not because I don't want to be famous or anything. I want my privacy, actually. Unfortunately, as I go along with my profession, I've heard a lot. I actually deal with a lot of heartbreaks from all these applicants here in Canada, even literally crying in front of me, and they're saying they were actually handled by somebody whom they saw it on the internet. They saw it in on the social media, and it looks like they are legitimate. It looks like they are so smart and everything. Unfortunately, while doing all the process, they can be left behind. Perhaps they're not competent enough. I have to go out there. I know myself. I'm a licensed immigration consultant. I want to help out. At the same time, of course, I don't want to be hypocrite. I want to make money. At the same time, I can give a quality service to the to the public. That is the reason why I'm out there right now.
Right. Yeah, and we appreciate it. And part of why it was so interesting to me, it's because that's part of the motivation for starting this podcast, right? Is because, as our listeners know who've heard many of our other episodes or follow me on social, I've been a Canadian immigration lawyer for about 8 years now. I don't really practice anymore, but I like to think I'm, pretty competent in the field. And talking to other regulated professionals about important topics, right? So that people can hopefully have some, good information, right?
Yeah.
To give a little bit more context, I think what you're kind of alluding to as well, and if you want to provide more details, is all of the, social media influencers and content and Instagrammers and whatever, who are basically pumping out content about information related to immigration, sometimes upselling services that they're technically not allowed to be providing, and especially charging money for, right?
Yeah.
And it leads to, poor representation, misrepresentation, refusals, or just outright lying, right? Taking people's money and saying, okay, we're going to submit your PR, and it never gets submitted, right?
Yeah.
So what are you kind of seeing a lot of right now, Norlin, and what's advice you can give to an aspiring immigrant? Maybe they're outside Canada thinking of coming to Canada, or maybe they're inside Canada already. What's some advice you would give to them on kind of like how to be careful, how to look after themselves and make a good decision on their immigration journey?
Well, I have few blogs or content about these topics in my social media. It is very in demand with my blog about these people who actually try to loot their money, even though they don't even know what they're doing. I believe that my best advice for them is that to actually get the license number of this person. By getting that, you can tell, because I think, what I noticed the difference is that, Josh, when I am an immigration consultant, or I am, you are a licensee, you will say, I'm a consultant, I'm a representative, I'm an immigration lawyer. You have to identify yourself who you are. And these agent people, they call themselves agent, and they cannot call themselves, this is the biggest thing, they cannot call themselves as licensee, they cannot call themselves immigration practitioner or immigration specialist, immigration lawyer, if they are not. So that is the best way of knowing who they are. They can actually use Google. I remember I think few days ago, I spoke with somebody. This woman actually was charged by a ghost consultant for $10,000 just for work permit. And I am a licensee. I only charge $1,500. We know exactly what we do there. I know there's a lot of work in applying for a work permit, but on the contrary, I see this person, she's working as a caregiver or working as a housekeeper. Imagine the money that they get just to pay that person. And at the end, it will gonna be refusal. Upon investigation, because I'm so much concerned, curious about this situation, I investigated the website of this ghost consultant. They just created their own website, and it's beautiful. And whoever sees there, they would say, oh, they're legitimate. but actually the ethical practice is not there. The the service agreement, they even sign, like so bravely sign that service agreement, but there's no such thing as license number, which is one of those part that you have to see when you're actually signing a service agreement. And also, of course, you have to research on their social media. I myself, when I get a approval for whatever representation I do, it is a success for me. At the same time, I have to show to the world that I handled this kind of difficult case. I did this and I put it in social media, so they should see what they're doing. There's a lot of shady situations out there in terms of their social media. They can say, oh, I did this practice and everything, and but actually they are not licensed. Still, they can do. They will imitate us. And unfortunately, that's what I've been trying, just to actually reach out our regulatory body, do more in terms of letting everybody knows that, hey, there are licensees here. Not only just in YouTube. We have to spend money to actually reach out the national TV that we are out there. We are the licensees, that we can actually help these people to avoid more heartbreaks, I believe, to discuss not only to you, to a lot of people. It's something that we need to be heard of. Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's sad, right? I think two of the big problems are, number one, there's virtually no regulation, partially because a lot of the scammers are abroad, right? The regulators are sitting in Canada, right? Whether it be the College for Consultants, or whether it be the law societies at a provincial level for the lawyers. And the problem is, so many of these scammers and ghost consultants, whatever you want to call them, they're sitting outside of Canada, right? They're sitting in the home countries of these aspiring immigrants. They're shaking their hands, they're getting them into shops, and you know what I mean? Yeah. And the regulators aren't going to go chase them down there, right? So that's a big problem. They don't have the resources, they don't have the money, they probably just don't care enough. I don't know, right? But it would be, even if they wanted to, it'd be very hard, right, to regulate the entire world, right?
Yeah.
So I think, kind of what you alluded to, aspiring immigrants should really do their homework, and it requires a couple different things, like you mentioned. Number one, probably most importantly, make sure they're a regulated professional. Step number one, right? Ask them, are you a consultant? Are you a lawyer? If the answer is yes, what is your ID? What is your number, right? We all have a number, right? Yeah. Whether you're a lawyer or a consultant, you have an ID. And if they say they're a consultant, go on the college website with their number and look them up. Make sure they're listed there in good standing. Same thing with the law societies. You can go on the LSO website, type in my name or my number, and it'll show my profile and say that I'm in good standing, right? Similarly for you on the college website. So I think that now that more of these horror stories are going back home, hopefully more people are more aware of that. Now, I have a story about, you kind of mentioned that some of them are actually pretending to be licensed professionals.
Yeah.
Can you go into a little bit more detail on kind of what you're seeing there and what people should be aware of?
I've dealt with somebody. I actually had a consultation with these people, and it looks like it's legitimate because they are representing a very big food chain. And you can tell they'll never do this kind of hocus pocus situation. So what happened was the representative actually was a friend of the owner of this big food chain, and of course they just closed their eyes. They said, okay, you can sign a service agreement. This is our website, and the website, I can take a look in there. It doesn't even show anybody. It's just a picture of people who are professional. It looks professional though, and there's no, I mean, the address of the service agreement and the address on the website are completely different. So you can tell it's really shady. And of course, when I checked the service agreement, there's nobody actually there who is a licensee. They're just saying that, oh, when you have a problem about immigration, we have big pool of immigration lawyers and immigration consultants. It's so general. There's no specific person who's dealing with them other than the person who's actually receiving money. They're communicating with this person, or who's I believe she called herself manager of an office. Then I saw also an email money transfer, and that email money transfer is to a specific person again, which is it's legitimate because it's an email money money transfer, that means it is in Canada. So I checked that person. It's not even a license. It's not even whatever things in there. I checked the website because I like to, I'm so curious about these people. So at the end, the person actually got refusal because I believe they made up a GCK account for this applicant. Their own GCK account, not on their own representative account. They created their own GCK account. They actually charged them to create their own GCK account, things like that. There's a lot of charges there. So, and then I was saying, yes, the person that they're sending money is a legitimate person who's in Canada. The person who's creating the service agreement, yes, there's a service agreement, but it is a bogus service agreement. When the person actually got refusal, they have to go back to the owner of the business, the person who provided the LMIA. Of course, they have to hide because they don't want to deal with this kind of situation. So at the end, the person who's in the limbo is the applicant. And then now they have nowhere to go. They're asking for the file. They don't even want to provide, showing that they're the biggest person. They have to go through ATIP so that they can get their record in there. And then I told them what to do. And right now I'm handling them. I took over the case, and the damage has been done. The refusal has been there. The person lost their status. We're trying to figure out what to do, and other immigration program. But you know what? The LMIA is still out there. It's still open. And now the LMIA of that food chain is trying to change a foreign worker. And that foreign worker is different now from the person who got refused. Now they're actually collecting another $10,000 just for the LMIA to show these applicants. People coming here in Canada, they think that it's the answer of everything, especially the poverty in my country. It's in the Philippines. They think that when you come here in Canada, it will gonna be the answer of whatever scarcity that you have financially. But they didn't realize that there are people who put them hardship because of whatever their greediness in terms of finances. So that is one of those situations that I have. I have a lot of encounter with all of these people, and even their own relative, they loot their money. So it is heartbreaking, to be honest. But it is happening, Josh. It is happening. So that's why I'm out there, okay? Make sure that the person that you're dealing with have the license to do it. Otherwise, they're just gonna be disappeared if it gets refused.
Yeah, and I think this is why these stories are important, because the scammers are getting more and more sophisticated, right? In ways that you've kind of described. And you and I can probably go on these websites and review these service agreements and spot, some concerning elements. But maybe for those who have never been inside Canada, English is a second language, they don't have experience dealing with legal documents and drafting, it might go over their heads, right? So I think it is important to have talks like these so people know what's happening and what to look out for. In my case, or one case I should say, Norlin, I had someone, I'm pretty active on social media. I post a lot of content. I post a lot of videos on TikTok. And somebody sent me a message one day. And they said, "Hey Josh, is this you running this WhatsApp group?"
Oh, no.
I said, "What are you talking about? Because I don't run any WhatsApp groups." And they sent me a link to a WhatsApp group. Somebody created a WhatsApp group. They used my display picture, and they were linking my TikTok videos, pretending to be me. And the WhatsApp group had hundreds of people in it. And it was basically some scammer pretending to be me, sharing my content, answering questions, and selling immigration services, right? I couldn't believe it. I was shocked. Anyways, I tried reporting it. I don't know if they took the group down or whatever, but I can only imagine how much of this is going on right now, and none of us even have a clue. Yeah. Right? Yeah. So, but people need to be aware that this is happening so they know to look out for it, right?
Yeah.
If you're not looking up the people's IDs like we talked about, right? Make sure they're regulated. Look it up on the regulators' websites, and talk to these people. If somebody's pretending to be Josh in a WhatsApp group, you better have a video call with them and see that it's actually me on the other end, right? Yeah. I don't even offer services anymore. So if anybody's trying to pretend to be Josh selling you immigration services, I don't practice anymore, right? But it's just crazy. I've heard the stories, right? I've heard plenty of stories over the years, unfortunately. Yeah. But that's when I saw that really like opened my eyes, and I was like, wow, this is bad. This is really bad.
Yeah, I think that's the reason why we are here right now, Josh. I know I know it's not a waste of time. We are concerned about this humanity. I believe there's part of it. Yes, we can't just be in front of our table and keep on processing paperwork and everything about immigration. We have to have at least some time for us to do all these things, because other than that, I realize that there are a lot of bad actors out there. But our hands are so tied that we can't even do more than what we are trying to do. We can just tell them on the social media that there are people, but we can't even pinpoint or we can't even mention their name. Otherwise, they will gonna come back to us to sue us. So they have the nerve to sue us, actually. So those are the situations that I also want to mention this in my community. For example, I'm a relative, and my intention is to help out my relative coming here in Canada and offer them accommodation and letter of support and everything. Then when they come here, take advantage that relative. They're like first cousins. They're like distant relative, and they would say, "Hey, you're making money already, and can you let us borrow that amount of money? Or maybe you sold some of your property back home and you brought here, and I saw that cash." And that relative actually is so much in need of money. They'll take that. And then at the end, I need the money. And then, okay, I'll just give it to you. And then at the end, if they cannot really give the money anymore, they will say, "Hey, I help you. You have to at least, give back to me also." Those actually norm that's going on right now. And one client I have, her own cousin actually took $25,000 pretending that she actually enrolled her cousin in a school and created a PDF file of a bank statement and also a receipt from the school. And when she came here, she wanted to get that refund from the school because she wants to transfer. She realized that that's not actually paid up, and at the same time, that bank account from the big bank here, it's actually a made up PDF file. And she can't even sue her. It's her first cousin. It's a family. So she ended up crying. She never know how to clean houses in the Philippines. Now she's cleaning houses here just to survive. So imagine that heartbreak that, you lost your money, you lost your trust to your family, you lost your family, and you're in limbo with your immigration situation here in Canada. So it's happening.
Scamming is bad enough as it is without the family relationship, right? So I think we can kind of put a pin in that topic and just say, please be extra careful, right? These are the things that are going on. Please make sure you're working with reputable, regulated professionals. Do extra homework. Make sure they're in good standing. Make sure it's the person you actually think you're talking to. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So anyways, the other thing I wanted to ask you about, Norlyn, just so that we're not spending, all of our time talking too much about some of the negatives, is what else are you seeing in terms of opportunities in Canada? What are some of the good opportunities that we have right now for those that are still serious about coming to Canada?
Well, I myself is an immigrant as well, Josh. I was not born here in Canada, and there are tons of opportunities here in Canada, to be honest. As long as you know how to upgrade yourself, of course. You can't just magically be an immigration consultant without you upgrading yourself and studying a lot, without you spending your money in order for you to upgrade yourself. So opportunities are a lot here in Canada because you get the chance to upgrade yourself. You get the chance to put up your small business as well. Coming here, they have to be strong. They have to be strong mentally, emotionally, because there are tons of challenges along the way. Now, if you understand that these are just temporary, as long as you're so strong enough to face all the consequences or the challenges in life here in Canada, then you're gonna be okay eventually in the long run. I've been here in Canada for more than 2 decades already, so I believe I've learned a lot. Ups and downs in life, but I am happy that I chose Canada. I'm really I'm really happy that I was able to help a lot of family members and relatives and everybody. So one thing that they were saying is that Canada can actually treat you properly, and also not like in our country, in the Philippines. There are a lot of red tapes there. There are a lot of like, if you don't have connection, you will never get a job. That is the norm right now. But here in Canada, when you know that you're starting from rags to to a better life, opportunities will gonna be always out there. Just be strong. We're talking about the immigration programs. Most of the people that I've been handling, as I've mentioned to you before, are economic class. They come here as a caregiver, as a work permit holder, as a student. They come here and then they apply economic program that we have in the immigration. In the Philippines, they make money like around maybe $200 a month. Those are professional nurses. But when they come here, they make maybe $50 an hour. So, and then they could be able to bring their families, they could be able to have their own house, and of course break the chain of poverty back in their home country. So that is a big opportunity. One example profession, which is the nursing background. A lot of people do that. They come here as a caregiver, they come here as a nanny. Yes, it is hard at first. They're crying. They don't know what they're doing because the job is not really what they intend to do when they took this nursing background. But after 2 years, after 3 years, we have the opportunity at that permanent residency. Then once you get that, after being a caregiver, you become a nurse. And of course, beautiful stories that I've been hearing. They can lose their status, yes, but again, don't give up. I've handled a lot of complicated cases. They lost their status. We go through reconsideration. We go through humanitarian cases. I am saying to everyone, there might be a difficulty when you started your life here in Canada, but at the end, the opportunity is there. You can do whatever you want to do as long as you think you can do it.
I think it's great advice, and if I can almost summarize that by saying, you might have to be a little bit more strategic these days, but if you're coming in with the right goals and the right pathways in mind, I mean, I love Canada, right?
Yeah.
It's the only country I've ever lived in. I think PR is probably harder than ever right now, right? But if you work with a professional that can give you advice and help create a good pathway to PR, there's great opportunities in healthcare, in STEM, in the trades, in a few of these other industries that are still growing and or extremely understaffed, right? And probably will continue to be in Canada for a decade or two to come. So absolutely, I think that's great advice. I think people should, to kind of summarize what we've talked about in this episode, number one, be very, very, very careful with who you work with. Make sure they're a regulated, reputable Canadian immigration professional. Go find their profile and make sure it says in good standing on either the college website for consultants or the law society of whatever province that they're practicing in for the lawyers. And be strategic. Take a look into the job markets. See what good programs might be to study that lead to in-demand jobs in Canada, right?
Yeah.
And I think, like you said, it could be game-changing, right, for families, and especially depending on what countries they're coming from.
Yeah.
Norlin, this has been a really great conversation. Thank you so much again for coming on the show. Any last words or advice or thoughts that you wanted to leave the listeners with?
Well, I believe that Canada is a beautiful country. It's not easy to be here if you are a newcomer. Now, I always tell to everyone that they should be strong. They should be brave in facing all these trials. There are challenges and a lot of surprises that you don't even expect, but they are all going to pass. Everything is temporary. Now, if you're strong enough, take all these temporary situations, temporary setbacks here inside Canada, then eventually you're gonna be successful, you're gonna shine. You're gonna find your own niche here in Canada. So, yeah, just be strong. Everything will be okay.
Awesome. That's a great note and message to end on. Norlin, if anybody has listened to this episode, they really like what they're hearing, they want to get in touch or they want to learn more, where do you recommend that they go?
Well, they can just visit my website, www.canadianimmigrationspecialist.org, or my social media on TikTok, also in Facebook. It's Norlin Oligo Sarma. I will try my best to be out there as much as I can. But again, at the end of the day, I know I don't have any intention to be here forever. My intention right now is to be calling out everyone right now. I do whatever as much as I can. I would love to help people who actually wants to come here in Canada. It is difficult. I mean, it's a complicated profession. It's worth it to change people's lives. At the same time, you're making money.
I completely agree. We're going to have links to those websites in the description below, whether you're watching on YouTube or listening on the podcast. Norlin, thank you again for coming on the show. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, Josh. I hope you have a great day. Bye-bye now.